All right, this is really big breaking news on your screens right now. The International Court of Justice, and what a big victory this is for India as far as the global stage is concerned. The execution of Jadhav has been stayed. In fact, the ICJ went on to rule that Pakistan will have to do everything to give consular access to Kulbhushan Jadhav. It has also, and this is a unanimous verdict, remember, 11 judges, and they unanimously decide. A very, very eminent jurist. All right, a very eminent jurist who also joins us right here on ET now, along with the voice from the Congress party, Priyanka Chaturvedi. But Majid Menon, thank you very much for being with us, and this really is a moment of reckoning as far as India is concerned. Our pleas really heard at the world stage. 11 jurists, and it's not one or two, but 11 judges unanimously decide that India should not just get consular access, but the execution will have to be stayed up until the court gives its final order, and the court does believe that the final order will only come by August. But this is a big vote of confidence as far as India's stance on Kulbhushan Jadhav's execution was concerned. Will you agree?
Yes, certainly. It's a big achievement for us because the court has taken cognizance of the fact that, yes, Vienna Convention applies to both the petitioner as well as the respondent, and they are both bound by the Vienna Conventions, and plus they also have said that consular access should have been given to Jadhav, which has not been given, and consequently the court has stayed the execution, which certainly is a big achievement for our country. Now till August or thereafter, whenever the matter will be finally decided, till then the life of Jadhav is saved, and it's certainly a major victory for India.
All right, life of Jadhav is saved. It's certainly a big victory for India. I'm going to get a quick voice from the opposition as well. And I'm sure all those differences should be set aside this evening, Priyanka Chaturvedi, because this is a big, big moment of reckoning as far as India is concerned. Kulbhushan Jadhav will not be executed in Pak, and its lies almost caught red-handed. The International Court of Justice not just snubs our neighbors, but also tempts them to comply and give India consular access. Would you like to congratulate the government at this stage for the route and the strategy that was adopted?
And we must remember, we are above the government, we are above the opposition, we are all Indians first, and we were all fighting for a cause which was heaped upon us because of a neighbor which has absolutely gone rogue, which has flouted all norms, all international relation norms, all Vienna Convention norms, kidnapped an Indian citizen and taken him into imprisonment, and also not given consular access to the Indian government. This goes on to show how Pakistan is a rogue nation. And this is a victory not just of a government, it is the victory of our country. And it is important that we remember that.
Indeed, it's a victory of the country. But I want to get into the legal nitty-gritties and just to read into what the ICJ really said. If I may throw that question to you, Majid Menon, how much has Pakistan been indicted at the world stage? The fact that all 11 of those jurists believe that access should be given to India. All 11 of them believe there should be no urgency. They feared that the execution could have happened before August, despite Pakistan telling them in the courts that it wouldn't. How much does Pakistan lie exposed at a world stage?
आवाज चली गई। देखिए वाजपेयी जी, मैं एक दो बात।
Mr. Menon, can you hear me, sir?
हाँ, मैं अब आ रही आवाज। हम देखिए दो बातों का खुलासा करना चाहूंगा। एक तो ये कि हमारे मित्र अभी जो बोले कि भरोसा नहीं।
I don't think he can hear me. I don't think he can hear me. Let's go across to Priyanka Chaturvedi then. And Priyanka, the question also is, it's all right, and India stands vindicated, India's stance is vindicated. But what about Pakistan? How exposed is Pakistan at this stage?
It stands totally exposed. In the International Court of Justice, they tried to get it out of the Vienna Convention norms, the entire case. Then they also had an argument to give as to why they did not give consular access, because Kulbhushan Jadhav had admitted that he was a spy. These are all false charges heaped by Pakistan to just try and have their way through, just stands exposed today, not just in the, India always knew we are fighting a battle against Pakistan, but it is now exposed in the world also. And moving forward, we need to ensure that we only get more and more people to realize that they need to isolate themselves from Pakistan, because today it is India which is suffering the consequences of their terrorism that they export. Soon they will be doing this all across the world. So this is something where all the world needs to stand united with India and ensure that Pakistan is called out for its hypocrisy and shamelessness.
All right, shameless and hypocrisy indeed, and I think the opposition and the Treasury benches get together to congratulate India on this mega victory. But Gopal Jain, another very important voice and a senior advocate in the Supreme Court, is joining us on the phone line as well. Thank you very much, Gopal, for being with us. This is as big as it gets as far as India versus Pakistan is concerned. This was a world stage. India had to convince not one, not two, but 11 judges out there, and it's a unanimous verdict. Most of them believe that India was not given consular access. The execution would have been expedited, would have been urgently done by Pakistan, and that has been stayed for now. What really tilted things in India's favor, even though we keep calling it the moment of reckoning, the moment when India convinced the world that it was in the right and Pakistan was in the wrong? I'm going to come to Pakistan being indicted, but I first want to quickly begin by talking about what convinced and what turned the tide in our favor.
Well, I think it was a gross abuse of human rights, of international law, and the manner in which they sought to project a video as if to say that a person who's incommunicado and in custody tried by a military court would completely sort of, make a statement voluntarily. So I think if you look at the extremity, gross violation, and what they've really ended up doing substantial justice given the facts of the case, and it will send out a strong signal internationally as well that the ICJ is truly an independent, UN-backed judicial system. And like you said, a unanimous verdict of 15 judges sends out a very, very strong message that it's a robust and effective system.
Right. Gopal Jain, just hold your thoughts there. My colleague Danish Khan was inside where that verdict was pronounced, and he's in conversation with Gilbert. Let's cut across to Sister Channel Times now and get you the chat.
What the court has said.
Yes, we're hoping Dr. Mittal should be coming out of that door behind me any second now. Hopefully he'll come down and join us here at the bottom of the stairs and provide his reaction. But, I mean, he's been quite a quiet figure, hasn't he, over the last few days? You say you spoke to him directly, and he's expressed some degree of emotion about this.
Well, yes. I mean, we have seen Dr. Deepak Mittal inside and how calm and composed he has been. Of course, we know that he has got significant experience handling the Pakistani desk from India, a senior IFS officer. Of course, today, he couldn't resist showing a little emotion, being quite happy and delighted. In fact, the staff members who were with him were equally delighted, in fact, at this momentous occasion. But what has actually added to this whole feeling of joy is the fact that the court has completely rubbished Pakistan's arguments and allegations on all counts. If we could see the Pakistani delegation is coming out, that is the agent of the Pakistani delegation, and as you can see, they are coming down. Hopefully, they will speak to us. We'll request them as to what will be the next.
Okay, let's see what they have to say. Let's see what they have to say. What's your reaction? Tell us your reaction.
I think there is no need to make a sort of, news out of it. It's a very basic thing. What the court has done is to, given its ruling on a provisional measure, which is basically a procedural process, and I think that's about it. The court has given has said nothing on the merits or maintainability of the case.
Will you abide by their demand that you not execute Mr. Jadhav? Can you give us a reassurance that he will not be executed?
Rajdeep, this is the first reaction that's coming in.
That's the very first reaction. I don't know if you can see me there. That's the very first reaction we've had coming out of this court. That was Mr. Khan from the Pakistani delegation. Very dry, very circumspect. Really, he doesn't have a leg to stand on, does he? So he's just given a fairly neutral statement and then basically just escaped in his car. And off he goes.
And like he said, Mr. Khan, the agent of the Pakistan side has very categorically come and denied it. And he has come and said that this is no big deal, this was procedural, let's not make a song and dance about this. I did not expect Pakistan to say anything else. This really is a big victory as far as India is concerned. At the world stage, it looks like the world is convinced that we have been wrong. At least Kulbhushan Jadhav deserves not just a fair trial, but he deserves justice, and the world is willing to throw its weight behind India. I think Nalin Kohli from the BJP and also a council has reacted. Let's go across and listen into him.
With regard to the lack of consular access, and also all of it clearly falls into the zone of what Pakistan needs to comply with regard to the Vienna Conventions. Additionally, there is nothing in the Vienna Conventions, which is what the court has said, that excludes providing consular access or his rights are to be restricted under the Vienna Convention, because the person said, in this case Kulbhushan Jadhav, is a person which Pakistan says is associated with espionage or some terror activity. And finally, most important, the argument of Pakistan has also been rejected with regard to a bilateral agreement between India and Pakistan preventing it from India approaching the International Court of Justice. Again, there is no sufficient basis on that. The court has unanimously, which is important, unanimously asked Pakistan to ensure that Mr. Jadhav is not executed. There is a stay on that proceedings till the final adjudication. It's an important day for Mr. Kulbhushan Jadhav and his family. And this is one more step further in ensuring that justice is done for Kulbhushan Jadhav.
So do you think that the Pakistan categorically exposed in front of the world, and also the...
Pakistan had a weak argument, obviously, because none of its preliminary objections could really work. The court has clearly spoken about its jurisdiction, about the maintainability and its power to give an interim measure pending final adjudication. It has said clearly that there is dispute with regard to the arrest, with regard to the trial, and Mr. Jadhav cannot be executed till the final adjudication. India's points have come out firmly. Government of India stood with, under Prime Minister Modi, every time Indians are in trouble, the government has reached out, made effective measures, and in this case, Mr. Harish Salve, eminent and senior lawyer, argued India's case forcefully. So I think it's an important day for Kulbhushan Jadhav, his family.
Right. We've got a very, very eminent legal voice joining us on the phone line, and of course a former ambassador as well. I've got Neelam Dev and Soli Sorabji joining me right here on ET Now. Soli Sorabji, thank you very much for being with us. This really is a big, big win for India at the world stage. How do you read into this judgment to begin with?
Of course, it's a very good order. It's a correct order. Till the question of jurisdiction is decided, of course, provisional measures have to be taken. And mind you, the court said the Pakistan government did not give any assurance that Jadhav won't be executed. And in that case, the court naturally has to protect the person. Otherwise, what's the point of having the matter? If he's executed, the whole appeal becomes infructuous. So it's the correct order. And I think it is a good sign, is a good, happy development for India. Because any other thing would have been absurd. Till the question of jurisdiction is decided, either it has jurisdiction or hasn't got jurisdiction, but at that time, surely the status quo has to be maintained. Man can't be executed before the decision is taken. I think it's an absolutely correct decision, and I think good luck. I'm very happy that India got this. Hello?
How much do you believe Pak lies exposed today? Mr. Sorabji, how much has Pakistan been indicted by this judgment? How much does Pakistan lie exposed this evening?
Pakistan is what? I can't hear you. Repeat again. Hello?
I'm saying, how much does Pakistan lie exposed?
Pakistan, of course, has to be bound by this order of the court. It's not started. Hello.
Okay, I think there's a bad line with Soli Sorabji, but I'm going to still try and get some. So when the court says that India will get consular access to Jadhav, Pakistan is now under obligation to comply, is it not?
It has to. And I suppose a responsible nation would have to. You can't just disregard the directions of the International Court of Justice.
And how soon do we expect India to get that consular access, sir?
Now, that's a matter of detail. The whole question is, today, till the matter is pending, till the question of jurisdiction is decided, Jadhav cannot be executed. That's the main thing, and that's where India has succeeded, rightly so.
Okay, we'll let you go on that note, Sir Soli Sorabji. Thank you very much. Mr. Jadhav cannot be executed and India will get consular access, and that is the bottom line. Everything else is detail, everything else is noise and the cacophony that's coming in. Pakistan, of course, comes out and very defiantly says, this is just a procedural thing, let's not make a song and dance about it. Well, you would have gone to town had you got the execution in your favor, but because you have not, it's time that India raises a toast and celebrates. But let's take this across to Ms. Neelam Deo, a former bureaucrat and a former ambassador who joins us on the phone line as well. Thank you very, very much, Mr. Dev, for joining us. This really is a moment of reckoning for India, is it not? The top world court rules in our favor as far as this execution is concerned, and the entire world was watching what our point of view on this was. So it's almost a validation of the points that we made about Pakistan not giving consular access, about how he was wrongly implicated, how the video evidence could perhaps not have been a standalone proof, and of course the other points that Indian counsels did make there.
I think we should not overread the verdict. It is certainly correct, as Mr. Soli Sorabji has pointed out, that the court has ruled in favor of India's demand for consular access. But giving consular access does not mean that all the rest of the procedure has been overruled. In Pakistan, the position of the army is literally unchallenged. According to Pakistani law, the military courts are legitimate, especially in cases that they argue relate to terrorist activities. I think we should certainly be glad that the court has ruled in favor of the Indian position. We hope that the government of Pakistan will give consular access to Mr. Jadhav, but we should not exaggerate this point of law to mean that somehow the whole process has been completed. We do hope that Mr. Jadhav's life will be saved, and that, we can begin to deal with Pakistan on this issue, but we should not exaggerate its consequences.
I'm glad at least you're being pragmatic and candid and making that point. Do you fear that Pakistan may, after all, not comply with the International Court of Justice's order?
And, I think we should note that there are many countries in the past which have not complied, and there are many cases in which the resolutions in the United Nations, other kinds of judgment have simply been ignored by various countries when they have felt that it is in their interest. I hope that Pakistan will give consular access to Mr. Jadhav. I hope that there will be a fairer and more open, transparent process for the trial, even if Pakistan insists on trying Mr. Jadhav. The evidence that they claim they have against him must be shared. But we cannot assume that all those steps will be followed by a country like Pakistan, where the military is supreme. They decide everything. And in this case, it's a military court, and the Chief of Army Staff has actually validated the judgment against Mr. Jadhav.
That's a very, very valid point indeed. This is an army court that has pronounced the judgment. The Chief of Army has validated it. Is India raising a toast and celebrating too soon? But let's just stay with us, Ms. Neelam Deo, because I'm going to take it across to Gaurav Bhatia, who's joining in on the phone line as well, with not just a legal but a political perspective on this as well. I think congratulations come your way, because the government's strategy seems to have paid off. The government decided to change strategy from just bilateral relationship, taking it to a multilateral forum. But while we all sit here and pray and we were all praying hard for this verdict to be in our favor, I think the point that Ms. Neelam there was raising is an important one. That are we stretching the point of law too much? Because you never know what happens in Pakistan. Will an army court comply with this judgment? What happens if, because this has been validated by the Chief of Army, has it not?
So at the very
Gaurav
outset, I would like to congratulate Mr. Hari Salve and the External Affairs Ministry that intervened at the right stage. And let me say this, that this verdict by the International Court of Justice is a big diplomatic victory, a big legal victory, and a moral victory also. And what it would ensure is that there would be a lot of pressure on the Pakistani government to give consular access, one. Two, another panelist was pointing it out, the trial that would take place or the military trial that had taken place pronouncing death sentence, at least we will have access to all the relevant documents. And most importantly, I think it has now given some room to the Indian government to take up this stand internationally, as well as help Mr. Jadhav file an appeal, and at least the execution for the time being will have to be stayed.
All right, that's an important point. Neelam, there you want to come in on the point that Gaurav Bhatia is making, and I think that's a valid point, that it's not just a legal or it's not just a diplomatic victory of sorts, it's also a moral victory. India versus Pakistan on for a very long time, and this is a validation that comes from the highest court. So the Pak representatives got out and said that let's not make a lot of song and dance about this is just procedural. But I think from a moral point of view, this scores very high as well, does it not?
Well, of course, we would all wish that Pakistan government will take this judgment seriously, that they will give access, and that the trial processes will be more open. But in the end, I think we should celebrate and congratulate ourselves once Mr. Jadhav comes home safely, and not get into premature triumphalism, which actually reduces the space for our government to try to find solutions to this, working with the Pakistan government either directly or by back channels or with the assistance of friendly governments. The moment to celebrate will be after he is released and is able to come home. Right now, I think we should not raise the temperature too much.
Gaurav Bhatia, you agree the strategy has worked so far because India has decided to take it to a multilateral forum, has got a verdict in its favor, but let's not leave or let's not celebrate too early. It's only when he returns home, it's only when the courts oblige in Pakistan, it's only when the army sees merit in it and obliges, it's only when there is a lot of pressure in Pakistan to respond to consular access should one really raise a toast. Are we being premature in our celebration because one cannot trust the Pakistani army?
No, I completely agree that we should not start celebrating because it is only protection of Mr. Jadhav's life as of now. But nevertheless, we can't undermine the importance of the order for the reason that if this order was not pronounced, then his life was always at risk. And I think a human life is very important. At least the Indian government, by proactively moving the International Court of Justice, has ensured that this human life, which is an Indian life, is protected till we have consular access, till we can build up his case and then present it in the manner that we can convince even the Pakistani authorities that he is not guilty of the charges where you have passed a verdict pronouncing him to be guilty.
All right, so I'm going to take it back to Neelam Deva. Neelam Deva, the point that Gaurav Bhatia is making is a valid one, that we need to point out the areas that we have really scored on. But if I may take this away from that, and I think the point that the International Court of Justice did make is it first snubbed Pakistan on not just the verdict that it gave, but it also snubbed Pakistan on whether there is going to be maintainability. It snubbed Pakistan on whether it has jurisdiction or not in pronouncing a judgment on this matter. It of course then went on to say that Pak should ensure all it does to ensure execution is stayed. The World Court unanimously, and I think the one point that we're not talking about enough, and I would like to pick your brains, Ms. Deo, is that this is a unanimous verdict. It's come from 11 judges who were a part of this jury. it's a unanimous verdict. Isn't that a big thing as well, to convince 11 judges from all over the world that they ruled in India's favor through a unanimous judgment? Isn't that big as well?
I think it's very important, and it is really to the credit of our legal teams led by Mr. Harish Salve that we have an unanimous verdict on a legal point, and that's certainly something to be glad of, and to appreciate that the case was well argued. But I think that on the more substantial issue of what next steps will be taken by the government of Pakistan or by the armed forces or whoever, as far as we can, we should certainly employ this verdict to push for an open trial, to push for the evidence against Mr. Jadhav, such as it is with the government of Pakistan, to be shared, to be transparent, so that in the end it is his life that is saved on a permanent basis, not just on the basis that he will not be executed just now.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/ETNow.